friends, in this video, we're going to talk about something very important, and that's how to practice. Practice is a science, okay? If you're going to be a pro, or if you want to save yourself some time, if you want to play drums as a hobby and you're a business person or you have some other kind of a job and you don't have too much time to spend behind the kit, you want to maximize your practice time, okay? So this is a system that was developed in the heyday of PIT, right? That I actually expanded on it. And it's something that we gave to every student back then. Now imagine yourself as a student at a university or something like that, and you have just tons of material to practice, okay? Every week that goes by, even more and more and more material, that it just becomes, after the third month, one of the problems we had was people were becoming overwhelmed with the amount of material to practice, okay? And there had to be a system to organize all this stuff and to practice efficiently. This is something that you can use if you have only 2 hours a day or if you have 8 hours a day. If you have 8 hours a day, you need this even more, okay? Now, let's talk about the motivation to do this, all right? Let's say there is a World Arts Committee, and that committee wants to create the best drummer in the world. Now, not that that exists, the best drummer, or the committee that doesn't exist. Anyway, this world committee comes to you and they say, we're going to give you $50 million if you can become the best drummer in the world, right? We want to create this art. We want to do this for humankind, and we're willing to give you $50 million if you can become the best drummer in the world, all right? Or one of the greats, okay? So you're like totally jazzed, right? You get home, oh my God, I got this $50 million grant. It's incredible, right? Okay, so you start practicing, you do your thing, and a week later, you go back to the committee. By the way, every week there's a review. The committee reviews what you've done, right? And so they're all sitting there, all these important people in a row and on a giant desk, and they ask you, okay, what have you done to deserve this $50 million and to create the best drummer, one of the greats in drumming? What have you done this week? And you say, well, I practiced some double bass from stuff, and then I played along with Christina Aguilera tune, and then I worked on my pad while I watched TV, and I was checking out Gilligan's Island, man, and I was doing a 5-stroke roll, and then I played along with some other records, and then I did some brushes. The committee is going to look at you like you are nuts, okay? You are totally disorganized. Completely don't know what to do when confronting practice, how to become great, okay? Now imagine another thing. A scientist, for example. Does a scientist take random elements and just throw them in a jar and shake it up? No. They take one element, whatever it is, whatever chemical, put it in a beaker, write down exactly how much of that. Okay, we put 50 milliliters of this chemical. Now we're going to take another chemical, put 100 milliliters of this. And we're going to take this powder here, whatever this is, put it in, and the thing explodes, right? Imagine if he didn't write down how much he put of each thing in that beaker before it exploded. And a week later, he's like waking up from his hospital bed and saying, I wonder how much of that, I put in there before it exploded. No, everything has to be written down. That's why you write things down, to know exactly what you're doing. So the next time he sees this book and he says, okay, I didn't put enough of this, or I put too much of that, so now let me take this other thing. And they write down exactly how much they put in the beaker. Okay, so now, as a drummer, do you organize yourself at that level? Most likely you don't. All right, now, what I'm going to give to you is the secret to becoming great. It is a practice schedule, a grid, a practice matrix, okay? And it was designed actually for CEOs of companies whose time is like worth $500 an hour, right? Those guys can't like fiddle faddle around at the desk. Every minute is planned out. Every minute they have at the work is planned out. You have a meeting with this guy at 5. You have a meeting with this guy at 5:15. You have a meeting with this other guy at 5:30. Like that. Big time planning, secretaries, managers, no time to screw around, okay? It's the same thing in drumming. People think they have a lot of time and they don't. You don't have time when drumming is too vast, okay, to fiddle faddle around. And life is too short. That's the issue. The time in relation to investment on drumming, okay, you don't have a lot of time to acquire all this stuff, okay? As much as you don't maybe want to hear that, you're 20 years old, think you have time, you don't have time. That's why we need this. This practice system was adapted for musicians at a level that is very intense in order to keep track of everything you're doing. Everything you pour into your body must be written down. How much time, okay, you did it, how often, and how many days, the whole thing has to be written down. If you just leave it to chance, you're not going to get anywhere. All right? So, the first thing to do is understand how this grid works. It also incorporates, I might say, mind control, which is a very, very important subject. How to control your mind and how to motivate yourself to keep doing things that are incredibly, incredibly boring. Okay? There are lots of things in drumming that are so boring that you need to do over and over and over and over. And there's only one way to tackle that, okay? Especially if the stuff is difficult. Difficult stuff and boring. That is what's going to kill your progress if you don't have a system, okay? If you don't know how to manage your mind and overcome these situations. Okay, so this grid is going to be the solution for you guys, all right? So now, this is how you do it. I want you to take a piece of paper, whatever, a notebook, okay, or a board like this, but you're gonna have to have a notebook. I think it's better. So this is what you do. You draw a circle, all right? Make a circle. Each circle represents 1 hour. 1 hour of time. You divide this up like this into 4 pieces. Each section represents 15 minutes. 15 minutes, 15 minutes. This is where the part about mind control starts to come in. So why do you do this like this, okay? 15 minutes, because studies have shown that human attention span is at its highest level for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, things start to get diluted. You start to get distracted, you lose your power of concentration. 15 minutes is about as long as anybody can maintain focus on a very difficult, repetitive task. Okay? Anybody. It takes an enormous amount of brain power to do things that are very difficult technically and repetitive. What you have to do is divide up the time like this, okay? 15 minutes on each task. That's about as far as you can go with your brain power maximized to retain information. Retention of information is another big issue that has to be tackled, and absorption by the muscles, by the body, can only do that through repetition. And this system, okay, is going to aid you in this. We have our grid here. You know that it's 1 hour, all right? You know that it's 15 minutes each segment, all right? Now, what are you going to do? You're going to you start labeling stuff, okay? This is going to be your hand technique hour. Your hand technique hour, all right? 1 hour hand technique. Now, under this category, you're going to have a subcategory, because hand technique has many aspects, right? You're going to write down exactly what you're doing. So let's say you're working on rebound stroke here. You're going to work on your rebound stroke for this entire hour. Hand technique, specifically rebound stroke. Okay. So, in the first 15-minute segment, you're going to probably start out with something to warm up your hour. Now, this is important because you shouldn't not do warm-ups in this hour, because you run out of time. If you take 15 minutes just to warm up, that's a lot of time to warm up. So you have to incorporate it into this circle. We're going to start with something real basic, okay? Single stroke. Now, whatever your routine is for single strokes, that's what you're going to do, and you're working on rebound stroke. Remember, the single stroke with rebound. That's a very specific exercise. Then your next 15 minutes, you're going to do double. Okay, double strokes. Double stroke with rebound, okay, double stroke. Here, you're going to move to the next thing, which would be 5 stroke. Okay, 5 stroke with rebound, not wrist. That's another story. Okay, and here you're going to do 6 stroke. 6 stroke with rebound. You've got your hour planned out. You have to have a clock by you, by the way, your phone, whatever it is, timer, absolutely time yourself. Each segment, you start the timer at 15 minutes, you set the alarm 15 minutes, you stop, you move to the next subject, okay? Now, I'm just gonna explain to you why. Now, you might think, well, I'm working on my single stroke roll of rebound, 15 minutes is not enough time. Actually, the reason you're doing this like this is, remember, first, retention of information, second, concentration, okay? Now, you're working on your single stroke here, right? You run out of concentration. You're just going to start getting distracted. So what do? You change the information. You change the input that's going into your body, into your brain. And you do that by changing slightly the subject, okay? Single stroke to double stroke. But you're still working on rebound. This whole hour, hand technique is rebound, not one thing, okay? You reach the 15 minutes, again, you're going to start losing concentration. 5 stroke, you change the information again, but you're still working on rebound, okay? Then you reach this, your 6 stroke, you change the information again. The change of information like this refreshes the brain, and it gives you back the ability to concentrate on the task of the rebound stroke, okay? Now, after every 15-minute segment, I want you to do this. This is very important. You make a small line like this. You reach the 15 minutes, your alarm goes off, bam, 15 minutes done, you make a line. You go on to the next subject, double stroke, bam, you do your 15, you make a line. The same thing here, the same thing here. When you complete your hour, you should have one line like that across this matrix, okay? Now, you come back the next day, right? Okay, do my hour again. You do your 15 minutes, boom. 15, boom, 15, boom, 15, boom. Okay, now you've got 2 lines. What does that mean, 2 lines? You did half an hour of single stroke roll with rebound. You did half an hour of double stroke roll with rebound, and so on, okay? Now your third day, you come back, you make another line, blah, 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 you do your hour, all right? You have 45 minutes of single stroke with rebound and etc. with the other subjects, all right? Your fourth day, you make a long line like this, all right? You complete your 15, you make the long line. Complete 15, make the long line, all right? What does the long line mean? It means 1 hour, okay? You now have a log of everything you're doing, okay? Long line represents 1 hour. Okay, so let's just take this a little further. So let's say you're doing your practice routine, and these are days that go by and hours and etc. Right? And this is what it starts to look like. Okay, now you go back in your log, right? Someday, if you have a lot of these, you're gonna have to do it for every subject. You go back in your log. I'm wondering why I suck at 5-stroke roll with rebound, right? So you go back in your notebook and you see how much time you put into it. 1, 2, 3 hours. I've put 3 hours into the 5-stroke roll. And maybe you're really good at whatever else, double bass, right? Whatever. And you look at your log, I have like 15 hours on double bass, only 3 hours on 5-stroke. Okay, then you can tell why you're not advancing on different subjects, because the time you spent on them is not the same. So, you would take this, keep going, you have everything marked like this. Well, here we run out of space, but you get the idea. Now, what does that look like? What does that look like? It looks like the sun. You're starting to see the light. All right, folks? This, super, super important. Now, another reason you make these lines, other than cataloging every 15 minutes that you spend behind the kit, is that it's a mind control issue. Every time you make a line, you get a sense of accomplishment, a sense of well-being, a sense that you're doing something with your time on planet Earth. You are proving to the world what you're doing with your time here. And every time you make a line, you start to feel good. Okay, you become addicted to making these lines and collecting all these lines. It makes you feel good. It makes you powerful because you know what you're doing with your life. This is a manifestation of your time on this earth. This is your life. This is your passion and everything you live for, or your enjoyment. If you're just doing drumming as a hobby, you start to be able to see exactly what you're doing. this is your time spent on planet Earth. It's almost like a sacred thing. It's a very important thing to do this. So every time you make a line, you become addicted to the sense of satisfaction that you get. You know, you can prove to the world what you've done, okay, with your life, with your time on planet Earth. So you have your category, subcategory, the things that you're working on, the lines that you do to log everything you're doing. The committee calls you back, right? A week later. Okay, Mr. Whoever, what have you been doing? You say, here's my notebook. I spent exactly this amount of time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 hours on the single, 4 hours on the double, 5, and then etc., etc. I spent exactly this hour on independence, this hour on this other style, blah. You show them exactly what you've been doing. The committee says, oh, that's very good. That's very interesting. Okay, well, keep going. Keep going. You got another week. 50 million coming your way. A big difference. Everything you put into your body should be written down and cataloged. Okay? If not, you are doing whatever. Okay, now another issue. You see here that the reason you have these categories like this, okay, is that you're working on one subject. You're working on rebound stroke, okay? Hand technique, but rebound stroke. The single stroke, double, 5, 6 with rebound stroke, okay? You stay on that subject, right? You don't change the subject. And as you see, all these things are flowing into each other. The single is part of the double. The double is part of the 5. You can't do a 5 without being able to do a double. You can't do a 6 without understanding how the 5 stroke works, okay? Everything flows into each other. Don't pick subjects that don't flow into each other. Like, don't pick single stroke and then 11 stroke roll and then finger control and then, whatever. That doesn't flow. Those are all different subjects that need to be tackled in their own hour. Make sure that the subjects inside your hour are flowing together and they are all related to each other. So that's why you have these categories and subcategories like that, okay? So, all right. Now, let's tackle a different subject, shall we? I'm going to show you how to tackle now drum set independence, okay? Now, drum set independence has many, many facets. You have independence for rock, for funk, for Afro-Cuban, for Brazilian, for all kinds of styles has their own independence. For jazz, it has its own type of independence. So imagine trying to tackle that much information when you have no idea how to do it, right? Oh, I'm just going to do this exercise and I'll do this other one and I'll do this page out of this book and maybe I'll do it for 8 hours one day and then you're completely burnt out and you can't do it 8 hours again, just one line of the book. Right. Believe me, I've seen every type of approach like that and they fail absolutely unless you know how to practice. So let's take another hour, okay? Divide it up. Each segment, 15 minutes, remember. And we're going to title it Independence. Okay? And this time, you're going to tackle, let's say, jazz independence. Okay? And you're going to tackle, you can even have subcategories, okay? Left hand, okay? Left hand independence. Now, what does this entail? you might be working on the independence with a basic jazz ride pattern, okay? So ride, one, ting, ta, ting, okay? That, ding, ding, da, ding, ding, da, ding, all right? There's many other combinations you can do if you start getting into the 3-bar cycle and all stuff like that. Anyway, so here, let's say you're working out of whatever book you happen to be working on. And in this case, we'll just keep it simple. All right. Here we're going to be working on down. Oh, let's take this green one so you can downbeats. Oops. Downbeats. Okay, so ding, ding, da, ding, right? Hi-hat, 2 and 4. Bass drum, feathered. Okay? You want to do the bass drum feather? You don't have to. It's for sake of explanation here, okay? Downbeats, okay? This is all left hand work with the ride like this. Hi-hat 2 and 4, bass drum feathered, okay? And here, you're gonna take upbeats. Okay, same thing. Hi-hat 2 and 4, bass drum feathered. Here you're gonna take 2 notes, okay? 2 notes. One and. Oops. One and. Let me write that better for you guys. One and. Okay? Same thing. Hi-hat 2 and 4. Bass drum feathered. And here you're going to do and 2. And 2. Hi-hat 2 and 4. Bass drum feathered. Okay? So you're systematically tackling all these things in a very, very organized way. All right? You do your 15 minutes, right? You make your line. You make your line, you make your line, you make your line. You catalog everything you do. Again, 1 hour at a time. You might say to yourself, well, this is not enough time on downbeats. You know, I'm really having trouble with downbeats. I can't do this. So I'm going to do it for 30 minutes instead of only 15 minutes. Big mistake. Okay? Why? Because you are working on independence for jazz with your left hand. Okay? Everything is jazz independence with your left hand. This is going to help this. This is going to help this, and this is going to help that. Everything helps together. If you just do this, okay? You ever see those circus performers where they're spinning a lot of plates on these sticks? And if you don't give enough energy, you know, the other stick starts to fall away. It's the same thing. You must keep all the plates spinning, okay? When you do this is going to benefit. And when you do this, that's going to benefit. And when you do also this, that's going to benefit. Because the harder it gets, you see, it gets more difficult as it goes. When you get back to the first one, the easy one is going to be more easy. Okay? So you push and you push and you push information. You don't stay on one thing for 1 hour. Okay? It's a complete waste of time on planet Earth. Right? Remember what you're doing. You are acquiring information. You're creating muscle memory. And the way to create muscle memory is like this. You also must remember, categorize everything, write it down so that you come back, 2 months later and you see, well, how come I suck at this? You go in your notebook, well, I only did it for this much time, right? Okay. You know that you spend too much time on funk beats and not enough time on jazz because you're your jazz thing is looking like this right now. Only 15 minutes on each subject. So look, man, you can imagine. This is the tip of the iceberg, okay? Because you also have bass drum independence, which requires a whole other hour. And then you have hi-hat independence, right? Then you have phrasing, and then you have cycle work. If you don't do this, you're just gonna spin your wheels, right? You're gonna spend a lot of time on nothing and never acquire the information you need. This is gonna cut down your practice time. Well, let's say, I don't want to say practice time, your acquisition time, okay? Which is what we want. We want to cut down acquisition time because when you move on from this subject, there's a ton of other subjects. There's so much to study. It's insane and it never ends. It never ends. Now, okay, you understand the benefit of making the lines, right? You become addicted to this because, yeah, I got something done today, man. I did it. I did my 15. I did my 15. I did my 15. And then the next day, I did my hour. I got an hour on that, an hour on each thing. And you become happy practicing. You become addicted to practicing. And you become addicted to making these lines. It makes you feel good. Okay, and that's what we want. That's what I'm talking about, mind control. You get to the end of the 15 minutes, it doesn't matter, you can't do it yet. You move on, you go to the next subject, but you're still going tinka, tink, tinka. You're working on independence jazz with left hand with this ride pattern. You move on to the next thing, you can't get it, move on, okay? You move on. The next day, everything's gonna be easier. And you keep flowing like that, okay? You don't sit there for 2 hours just working on downbeats, okay? Everything must flow together. All right. So I hope that helps. And I hope you will consider doing this because in order to have a great experience with drums, you have to break through the barrier of muscle memory and retention of information and acquisition of information, okay? And the way to do it, the most efficient way is this. So let's say you come back to the committee 6 months later. The committee says, okay, what have you got going? You know, we want to see everything. We have this new member here and he doesn't know what you've been doing. So he is one of the most important members too. And, his decision on whether you get the 50 million or not weighs heavily on this whole thing. So you say, no problem. I've got my notebooks, and your notebooks should be filled with these circles, okay? Filled, page after page after page. That's how mine was. Page after page after page with these circles. And you can go and say to the guy, well, okay, I did exactly this subject for this long on this day. You might want to put the days too. And that's what I've been doing. And you have everything, proof of what you did. You can go back 6 months later and see what you did. All right. So the new guy says, wow, I'm impressed. That's very good. Okay, continue on. Right? You still have a chance at the 50 million. So that's how I did it. That's how, pros do it. A great majority of students benefited from this. And I've shown this all over the world at top universities, and everybody's just flabbergasted. Like, wow, how come I couldn't figure this out before? Right? And practice times started to be more effective and more happy, okay? More enjoyable. That is what we want, because the more you enjoy practice, the more you become happy behind the kit, the more you're going to play and the better you'll be, the more you'll be able to express yourself and make music, which is in the end what we want to do. All right, folks, remember, see the light, practice right, get it together. If you want more practice schedules like this, please join the lesson site. On the lesson site, you become a member, and I make long-term, short-term, medium-term lesson plans with you. We tackle the subjects you need to work on. It's very detailed, and I am your personal guide, let's say, with your practice routine. And I check up on you through video updates. You know, the students that are on the site, they send me videos, and I say, okay, now you can move on to the next subject, like that. Okay, folks, so I hope you've enjoyed this. And remember, practice it's fun. All right. See you on the lesson site. Remember, we have Malta Drummers Intensive Day coming. I'm going to make a video about that very soon. Malta Drummers Intensive Day. I have hand consultations going. We have the Elite program going. Okay, so lots of things. I hope to see you on the lesson site and at one of our events, especially the one in Malta coming up. Okay, my friends? Peace.